The silent arrival, the night was calm on Earth. Cities glowed with their usual lights. Airplanes crossed the skies, and people went about their lives without knowing that something was watching them from above, far beyond the blue atmosphere. In the cold silence of space, giant shadows moved. At first, only a few scientists noticed it. A strange signal had been detected by deep space satellites. It was not random static, not a natural burst of radiation. It was controlled. It repeated in patterns, almost like a code. The signal came from the dark edges of the solar system, too far for any human ship to have reached. Scientists at first believed it could be a lost probe or a strange cosmic event. But soon, every monitoring station across the world picked it up. The signal was powerful, steady, and intentional. Governments tried to keep it quiet, but in the age of information, secrets do not stay buried for long. The news leaked. Unknown object entering solar system flashed across media channels. Panic began to stir, though no one truly knew what it meant. Was it discovery? Was it danger? Days later, telescopes confirmed the truth. Massive structures were moving closer. Not asteroids, not comets. They were shaped, built, designed, ships, alien ships, for the first time in history. Humanity knew it was no longer alone. At first, people imagined grand meetings, peaceful handshakes, and shining futures with new allies among the stars. But hope quickly turned to unease. The ships did not communicate. They did not send greetings or requests. They simply drifted closer, slow and deliberate, as if they were watching. When the first alien ship entered the orbit of Mars, its size stunned even the most skeptical minds. It was colossal, longer than Earth's tallest skyscrapers, wider than entire city blocks. The Martian rovers and satellites caught glimpses of its black surface, smooth and cold, covered in faint glowing lines. It looked alive, like a sleeping beast. And yet it said nothing. Silence is more terrifying than threats. Humanity could not understand why the visitors would come and say nothing. No message, no contact, no sound. Once just watching. As the days passed, more ships arrived. One by one, they appeared from the dark, sliding into the solar system like predators circling prey. There were 7 at first, then 12, then 20. Their movements were slow but unstoppable, like storms forming in the sky. On Earth, fear turned to tension. Military forces across every continent were put on alert. Fighter jets were scrambled. Nuclear silos unlocked their codes. Space agencies shared every piece of information they had. For the first time in centuries, humanity stood united not in peace. It didn't fear. Then it began. One night, without warning, entire power grids across South America shut down. Lights in vast cities flickered out all at once. Dark hospitals ran on emergency power, and chaos filled the streets. At the same moment, satellites monitoring the alien ships detected strange energy pulses directed at Earth. It was no accident. It was a test. The same event repeated hours later in Asia, then in Europe, then in North America. Entire continents plunged into darkness, as if the aliens wanted to see how humans would react when their technology failed. But the reaction was not what they expected. Instead of surrendering, humans adapted. Cities lit bonfires. People shared food and water. Emergency crews worked without rest. Humanity bent, but it did not break. Neighbors helped strangers. Strangers became friends. And deep in military command centers, human generals prepared for the worst. When the lights returned, the world was no longer the same. The aliens had shown their power, and humans had shown their resilience. The next move was more direct. One of the alien ships broke away from the others and moved closer to Earth. It entered the atmosphere without effort, not slowed by gravity or heat. The skies burned red as the enormous craft hovered above the Pacific Ocean. Its shadow stretched for miles, covering islands in complete darkness. The oceans below trembled under its hum. People gathered on beaches and rooftops, staring at the impossible sight. Phones recorded shaky videos. News channels broadcasted live. but no one could explain what they were seeing. The ship made no sound except a low vibration that rattled windows and shook the ground. Still, no words came from the visitors, no voice, no sign, no face, only silence. For hours, the alien ship remained, watching Earth below like a predator, watching prey. Then, as suddenly as it arrived, it moved again, not away, but toward. More ships followed, slowly taking positions above Earth's largest cities. One appeared over New York, its massive form blotting out the stars. Another hovered above Beijing. A third cast its shadow over London. Dozens more spread out, hanging in the skies like black suns. The world froze. Billions of people held their breath. Was this the beginning of peace or war? The answer came in the form of a voice. Not a human voice, but something deeper, something mechanical and cold. It echoed in every device, every radio, every screen, every speaker. It spoke one sentence in perfect, terrifying clarity. People of Earth, kneel. And then the voice went silent again, leaving humanity in a trembling silence. But the people did not kneel. In New York, crowds gathered in defiance. In Beijing, soldiers stood ready. In London, civilians raised their flags. Across the world, billions stood on their feet, not on their knees. Fear was heavy in their hearts, but something stronger burned in their souls. The aliens had made their first move. Humanity had answered without words. This was the beginning of the day when aliens would discover why humanity should never, ever be provoked. The demand still echoed in the minds of every human on Earth. People of Earth. Kneel, it had been spoken once, but it was enough. No one could forget the cold, mechanical tone. It wasn't a request. It was a command. A declaration of dominance. The aliens had not introduced themselves, had not asked for peace, had not shared knowledge. They had only demanded submission. For a moment, the world held its breath. Billions of people waited for what would happen next. Would the governments surrender? Would the armies give up? Would the people bow? The answer came quickly. From the United Nations headquarters, a message was broadcasted to the entire planet, translated into dozens of languages and streamed across every screen still working. A calm but firm voice spoke. We are the people of Earth. We will never kneel. This world is ours. We do not surrender. The message lasted less than a minute, but it was enough. Across the world, cheers erupted. Fear still lingered in every heart, but now there was something stronger: defiance. Humanity would not bow. The aliens, however, did not share the same emotion. High above the clouds, inside the massive ships, alien commanders observed with cold detachment. They had conquered dozens of worlds before. They had broken countless species with fear alone. The pattern was always the same: show power, demand obedience, and watch the weak kneel. It had always worked, until now. The refusal of humanity was unexpected. The aliens saw it not as bravery, but as foolishness. Their eyes, humans were primitives, children playing with fire, unaware of the storm they had provoked. And so, they decided to make an example. The first strike came swiftly. One of the alien ships drifted over the coast of the United States. It hovered in silence for hours, letting the world watch. Then, without warning, a beam of pure white energy cut down from the sky. In an instant, a military base was erased. The ground shook, concrete melted, steel vaporized. Thousands of soldiers, weapons, vehicles gone in seconds. News channels captured the horror live. The strike was merciless, a demonstration of power so absolute it left no chance for resistance. The aliens believed this would be enough. They thought the humans would see the futility of defiance. They thought humanity would finally kneel. They were wrong. The destruction of the base did not crush human spirit, ignited it. Soldiers who watched their comrades fall swore vengeance. Civilians who saw the flames did not cry for surrender, but for justice. Leaders who once doubted their armies now stood firm. Humanity had been struck, and instead of breaking, it burned with fury. The first response came from the skies. Fighter jets scrambled from nearby airfields, roared upward. They were fragile compared to the alien warships, but the pilots did not hesitate. Their mission was not survival, it was resistance. Dozens of jets swarmed around the alien craft, launching missiles, firing cannons, testing every weakness they could. Most weapons bounced harmlessly off the ship's strange armor. Some missiles were vaporized before they even reached their target. To the aliens, it looked pathetic, laughable. Primitive insects attacking a god, but then something happened. One squadron of jets dove low, flying dangerously close to the ocean waves. Their missiles didn't aim for the ship itself. Instead, they targeted the glowing vents along the craft's underside, the same vents that had released the devastating energy beam. Explosions tore through the air, small compared to the ship's size, but enough to make the alien vessels shudder. For the first time, alien systems flickered, not destroyed, but disrupted. The ship recoiled slightly, shifting its position in the sky. Inside the alien command chamber, the overseers hissed in disbelief. How could such primitive weapons touch their mighty craft? It was impossible. And yet it had happened. Humans had found a weakness. The aliens quickly destroyed the jets, burning them from the sky with precise beams of energy. The pilots never stood a chance. But their sacrifice was not in vain. They had shown humanity something crucial. The enemy was not invincible. Word spread fast. Commanders across Earth replayed the footage, analyzing every detail. Aliens were powerful, yes, but they were not gods. They could bleed, could be hurt, and if they could be hurt, they could be killed. The aliens, however, were growing angry. They had meant to terrify humanity into submission, but instead, they had awakened something dangerous, something they did not fully understand. In New York, people gathered in the streets, staring up at the enormous ship hovering above the city. Instead of collapsing in fear, they raised their voices, chanting in defiance. In London, civilians painted signs with one word: resist. In Beijing, soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, rifles raised, ready to fight even if it meant death. The aliens watched all this with cold alien eyes. Their mistake was not simply underestimating human weapons, it was underestimating the human will. And so, they decided to escalate further. Another alien ship positioned itself above the city of Rio de Janeiro. Its underbelly began to glow with the same deadly light that had destroyed the military base. Millions of people watched in horror, realizing what was about to happen. But before the weapon could fire, something unexpected occurred. From the coastline, hidden beneath the ocean, a submarine launched its payload, a ballistic missile shot upward, streaking toward the hovering alien craft. The aliens dismissed it at first, preparing to vaporize it mid-flight. But this missile was different. It split into multiple warheads, scattering in unpredictable patterns. Several were intercepted, but one slipped through. The warhead detonated against the ship's hull with a thunderous flash. The explosion rocked. The alien vessel, flames and smoke erupting across its side, did not fall, but it staggered, its glowing weapon fading. The crowd below roared in triumph. For the first time, humanity had struck back. The aliens felt it. Inside their ships, alien commanders exchanged urgent signals. This was not what they expected. This was not the pattern of weak, submissive prey. These humans were reckless, creative, and unyielding. They were not afraid to sacrifice, not afraid to strike back even when the odds were impossible. The aliens had made their first mistake. They thought fear would control humanity. Instead, fear had only sharpened humanity's claws. As the smoke cleared over Rio, the people on Earth realized something profound. They were not helpless. The aliens could be hurt. The aliens could be resisted. And deep inside the alien fleet, a quiet unease began to grow. For the first time, the invaders of countless worlds felt a whisper of doubt. This was no ordinary conquest. This was the beginning of a war they did not fully understand, and humanity had just taken its first step into the fight. The smoke over Rio had barely cleared when the world realized something incredible. Humanity had struck back and survived. The alien warship above the city was damaged. Not destroyed, but the fact it had staggered was enough. For the first time, Earth saw proof that these invincible giants could bleed. Across the planet, hope spread like fire. But with hope came danger. The aliens were furious. Above the clouds, the massive fleet shifted. Dozens of alien ships began to descend lower into the atmosphere, their shadows stretching over oceans, deserts, and cities. The time for intimidation was over. Now, they would crush this primitive world completely. Inside their command chambers, alien overseers gave the order, erase resistance. And yet, on Earth, humanity did not hide. It prepared in underground bunkers. Generals and leaders studied every second of footage from the battles. They noticed patterns how the alien ships reacted when hit in certain places, how their energy pulses caused power failures, how their weapons charged before firing. Humanity's technology was weaker, yes, but their creativity was unmatched. Pilots were briefed on new tactics. Submarine crews loaded every missile they had. Hackers worked day and night, trying to break into the strange signals the aliens used to communicate. Across every nation, people who had once been divided by politics, borders, and history now stood united under one truth. This was survival. The first great counterattack began in the skies. Over the deserts of North Africa, 3 alien warships descended, their massive shadows rolling across the sand. Their mission was clear: destroy human air bases, cripple their defenses, prove resistance useless. But the humans were waiting. Dozens of fighter jets rose from hidden hangars carved into the desert. They flew low, their engines screaming. Across the dunes, to the aliens, these craft looked like toys. Slow, fragile, easily destroyed. They opened fire, beams of light tearing the air apart, vaporizing jet after jet, but the human pilots did not scatter. They swarmed. Instead of fighting like a traditional army, they fought like hunters. Jets split into small groups, weaving between each other, vanishing into the clouds, using the terrain below for cover. Missiles fired not at random, but at precise angles, forcing the alien ships to move, to adjust, to reveal weak points. One squadron deliberately sacrificed themselves, diving headfirst into the range of the alien cannons, drawing their fire away. While the aliens were distracted, another squadron climbed high, then dove from above, launching their payload directly into the exposed vents of the ship's engines. The explosion ripped through the underside of the alien vessel. For a moment, its glowing lines flickered. The ship wobbled, its energy beams cutting off. Cheers erupted from the human command center. But victory was not free. Dozens of pilots never returned. Families wept, nations mourned. Yet their sacrifice gave humanity something far greater than despair. It gave them proof that courage could wound even the strongest enemy. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Ocean, a different kind of battle was unfolding. Beneath the waves, nuclear submarines stalked alien ships like predators. The aliens had expected resistance from the skies, from tanks, from rockets. But they had not expected silent hunters moving under the ocean's surface. When one alien vessel drifted close to the coastline of Japan, the submarine struck. Dozens of torpedoes launched from the depths, their trails cutting through the black waters. Alien scanners detected some, intercepting them with pulses of energy, but not all. 2 torpedoes struck the hull. The explosion tore open a section of the ship, spilling fire and smoke into the ocean air. The alien ship shuddered, its glowing light dimming for the first time. Humanity had drawn blood again. The aliens retaliated, blasting the ocean surface. With devastating beams, waves the size of skyscrapers rose, swallowing ships whole. But the submarines slipped away into the deep, invisible in the dark waters. They would strike again and again, like wolves hunting a wounded giant. Even on land, humanity refused to stand idle. Resistance groups formed in every occupied city. People armed with nothing but rifles and improvised weapons took to the streets. They knew they could not destroy alien warships, but they could sabotage, distract, and harass. In Paris, resistance fighters used underground tunnels to sneak close to the hovering ship. They carried explosives on their backs, planting them near alien drones that patrolled the streets. One explosion destroyed 3 drones, small compared to the vastness of the alien fleet. But each act of defiance inspired millions watching across the world. The aliens had expected fear. What they found was fire. Inside their command chambers, the alien overseers grew unsettled. No species had ever resisted this long. Most worlds broke within hours. Their enemies usually surrendered after one city was destroyed. But humanity was different, and struck they did not fall apart. They became stronger. The aliens had advanced technology, flawless ships, and devastating weapons. But the humans had something no scanner could measure: imagination. They did not follow predictable patterns. They adapted, created, and even sacrificed themselves in ways the aliens could not comprehend. The invaders had underestimated the value of desperation. A cornered animal fights hardest, and humanity, cornered on its only home, was no longer prey. One night, as battles raged across the world, an alien commander stared at the endless streams of data from Earth. His voice was cold as he spoke to his council. "These creatures, they do not break." Another replied, his tone sharp with frustration, "They are reckless. They throw their lives away without thought." The commander paused before answering, "No, not without thought. They throw their lives away so others may live. That is their strength." For the first time, a seed of fear entered alien minds. But on Earth, the fight was only beginning. The deserts burned. The oceans roared. The skies blazed with battles. Humanity had lost countless lives. Countless cities had fallen into ruin. But the spirit of resistance only grew stronger. Every attack, every strike, every explosion told the same story. Humanity would not kneel. Humanity would fight back. And as the 3rd day of war ended, one truth became clear to both sides. The aliens had expected a simple conquest. What they had found was a war unlike any they had ever fought before, and humanity was only getting started. The 3rd day of war had scarred Earth. Cities were smoking ruins. Oceans carried wreckage, and the skies were littered with falling debris. Yet, against all logic, humanity was still standing. The aliens had expected silence, obedience, and fear. Instead, they found roaring defiance, burning creativity, and unbroken will. But now, the question whispered across human command centers. Was this? How long can we last? The alien fleet was still massive, still nearly untouched compared to the losses humanity had taken. For every alien ship damaged, dozens of human bases were destroyed. For every alien drone shot down, thousands of civilians suffered. Humanity had proven it could hurt the invaders. But hurting was not the same as winning. Deep inside secret bunkers, leaders and scientists gathered. They knew survival required more than bravery. It required something the enemy did not expect. Something hidden. And so,
whispers of Project Black Sky began to spread.
Project Black Sky had been born years earlier. In the shadows of Cold War fears, it was a desperate idea and alliance of scientists, engineers, and generals who believed Earth would one day face an enemy not of this world. They had been dismissed as paranoid dreamers, their work hidden away in classified files. But now, those files were no longer fantasies. They were humanity's last hope. The project's core idea was simple: build weapons not designed for war against humans, but for survival against the unknown. Experimental railguns, orbital platforms, electromagnetic pulse devices, and even secret spacecraft hidden far above the atmosphere. They had never been tested in real battle. Until now, the first glimpse of the hidden weapon came over the skies of Europe. An alien ship hovered above Berlin, preparing to unleash its devastating energy beam. Civilians below screamed, sirens wailed, soldiers braced for death. But before the alien cannon could fire, something streaked across the night sky. At first, people thought it was a meteor. A bright, burning trail split the darkness, descending faster and faster until it struck the alien vessel's side. The explosion was deafening. Fire tore through the ship, its armor crumbling, its lights dimming. The alien craft staggered, listing, sideways in the air like a wounded giant, and then, for the first time in history, an alien warship fell. It crashed into the outskirts of the city, thunderous roar shaking the earth. The ground split, flames rose, glass shattered for miles. People fell silent, staring in disbelief. The invincible enemy had been dragged down. The world erupted in cheers. Humanity had slain a titan, but what had done it? It's in secret chambers. Beneath a mountain in Switzerland, generals exchanged tight smiles. They knew the truth. That meteor was not natural, it was Project Thor. Part of Black Sky, Project Thor was a weapon from nightmares designed decades ago, but never used. Instead of bombs, it used the very bones of the Earth itself, giant rods of tungsten, dropped from orbit at incredible speed. No explosives, no fire, just raw kinetic force. When a tungsten rod fell from orbit, it hit with the power of a small nuclear weapon, but without radiation. Humanity had just revealed its first hidden claw. The aliens, however, were not impressed at first. One ship lost. It meant little, too. Their vast fleet. But then another strike came. And another. Over the deserts of Australia, a second alien ship fell, torn apart by another orbital strike. In South America, a third vessel shuddered under a direct hit, crashing into the jungle. Humanity had turned the sky itself into a weapon. For the first time, alien commanders felt unease spread through their ranks. They had studied Earth's weapons, its nukes, its tanks, its jets. But they had not expected this. They had not expected a hidden arsenal designed specifically for enemies like them. The humans had prepared for war against the impossible, but Black Sky was not only about orbital strikes in the waters of the Atlantic. Another secret weapon came to life. Submarines carried more than nuclear missiles. They carried experimental electromagnetic torpedoes, designed to overload electronic systems. When fired at an alien ship near the coast of Portugal, the torpedoes didn't explode. Instead, they released a blinding surge of electromagnetic energy. The alien ship froze midair, its lights flickering out. For several minutes, the mighty craft hung helpless in the sky like a dead bird. Before human jets swarmed in, unloading everything they had, the ship fell into the ocean, sinking beneath the waves. The world watched in awe. Humanity wasn't just surviving anymore. Humanity was fighting back with secrets. Still, the cost was high. Each use of the hidden weapons revealed more of humanity's hand. The aliens were learning, adapting, analyzing. They began shielding their ships, adjusting their frequencies, preparing counters. Humanity had to be careful. But morale across the planet soared. For the first time, people saw the invaders fall, not just retreat, but collapse, burn, and sink. The myth of alien invincibility was shattered, and with that shattering came a dangerous new thought. Could humanity actually win inside alien command? Chambers, the overseers raged. Their voices, metallic and sharp, echoed through their ships. This species should be broken already. They wield weapons they should not possess. This resistance is unnatural. But one commander was silent. He watched the humans fight, adapt, and rise again after every strike. His eyes narrowed as he spoke a single sentence to his council. They planned for us. They were waiting. Others dismissed him, but deep inside, a chill spread. The humans were not just defiant, they were prepared. Meanwhile, in human bunkers, Project Black Sky's leaders debated their next move. The orbital strikes and electromagnetic weapons had worked, but the aliens were learning fast. Soon, those tricks would not be enough. There was still one weapon left, the most dangerous of all. A weapon that had never been tested, even in secret. It was humanity's greatest gamble, the last card they could play if everything else failed. The name was whispered only among a few, Project Dawnfire. What it was, no one outside the highest ranks knew. But its very existence carried both hope and dread, because while it might save humanity, it might also destroy the world. And so, as the fourth night of war fell, Earth stood at a crossroads. The alien fleet still outnumbered, and outpowered them. Billions lived in fear, and cities burned across the globe. But now, the humans had teeth. Hidden weapons struck from the skies, from the oceans, and from the shadows. The invaders had made their second mistake. They thought humanity was unarmed. They thought Earth was weak. But now, the galaxy would learn the truth. Humanity had been preparing for the impossible all along, and the impossible was only beginning. The fourth night of war ended with smoke, rising from broken cities and alien wreckage sinking into oceans. Humanity had bled terribly, but something remarkable had happened. The invaders, those who had come with silence and arrogance, were no longer untouchable. For the first time, the galaxy's predators felt prey bite back, and that changed everything. In the ruins of London, civilians huddled around radios, listening not to screams of surrender, but to voices of hope. In New York, where an alien ship still hovered like a dark moon, the people painted giant words across rooftops. We fight. In Tokyo, children carried water to soldiers. In Africa, farmers shared food with refugees. In South America, tribes and cities alike worked side by side. The divisions of the past, language, borders, politics melted away. The invaders had not just awakened Earth's armies. No, they had awakened Earth's soul. Humanity was no longer fighting for nations. It was fighting for survival, for the right to exist, for the right to be free. The wrath of humanity did not come in a single blow. It came like a storm, growing with every hour. Factories that once built cars now forged weapons. Scientists who had studied stars now worked on decoding alien systems. Hackers who once fought corporations now fought alien code. Every human skill, every mind, every hand turned toward one cause: resistance. The aliens had advanced ships and weapons. Yes. But humanity had something far more dangerous. Billions of people refusing to give up. In the skies above Africa, the wrath began to show itself. An alien ship descended over Cairo, preparing to fire. Its glowing cannon hummed, the air trembling with energy. But before it could unleash destruction, the desert below erupted with missiles, tanks, and drones, hundreds of human weapons striking at once. The aliens swatted most of them aside. But then came the surprise. From the sands, hidden underground for decades, a massive railgun rose, fired with a thunderous crack, launching a slug of metal at speeds faster than sound. The shot tore straight through the alien ship's hull. The vessel convulsed, its lights flickering. The people of Cairo screamed not in fear, but in triumph. Another Titan had fallen. In South America, the jungle became a battlefield. Alien drones swept through villages, hunting survivors. But guerrilla fighters, farmers, hunters, soldiers turned the jungle into a trap. They dug pits, laid explosives, used the thick trees as cover. Drones fell one by one, ambushed by humans who refused to run. One fighter was heard shouting as he detonated explosives beneath a drone. "This is our home, not yours." The aliens had never faced such resistance. On countless worlds before, terror had been enough. But here, every death seemed to spark 10 more fighters. Every fallen city became a symbol of rage. The oceans, too, became weapons. Navies from nations that had once been rivals now sailed together. American, Chinese, Russian, European, Indian. African ships that once pointed guns at each other now shared the same waters, same mission. Submarines hunted like wolves, launching missiles that struck alien ships from below. Aircraft carriers launched wave after wave of jets. Even fishing boats joined the war, carrying supplies and rescuing survivors. Humanity's wrath filled the seas. But it wasn't just the military. In hidden bunkers, hackers worked day and night. They intercepted alien transmissions, decoding fragments of their language. Slowly, painfully, they began to understand how the aliens communicated. It was not perfect, but it was enough to slip into their networks. For the first time, human hackers managed to shut down an alien drone swarm. 20 machines froze in the air, their lights flickering out before they crashed into the streets below. The victory was small, but it sent shockwaves through the invaders. Their perfect systems, their flawless networks, were no longer safe. The Aliens began to realize that humans did not fight with strength alone. They fought with creativity, chaos, and unpredictability. And that made them terrifying. Inside alien command chambers, the overseers grew restless. Reports poured in: ships destroyed in Cairo, drones lost in the Amazon, ocean fleets damaged by submarines, communications disrupted. "This species does not break," one overseer hissed. "Their numbers mean nothing. Their weapons are primitive, and yet we bleed," another admitted. It was a truth none of them wanted to face. Humanity's wrath was unlike anything they had ever seen. And then came the greatest display of unity yet. In orbit above Earth, a massive alien battleship loomed. It was larger than any other, a command vessel bristling with weapons. Its presence alone was meant to crush morale. But instead of fear, humanity answered with fire. Every nation launched everything they had: missiles, jets, drones, railguns. Orbital strikes, waves of weapons rose toward the battleship. The sky lit up like a second sun. The alien vessel fired back, obliterating many. But humanity did not stop. The assault was endless, furious, relentless. Finally, after hours of battle, the command ship's defenses faltered. Its glowing shields dimmed, its engines sputtered. And then, with a sound like the sky itself tearing, the great alien battleship exploded. The blast shook the heavens. Pieces of alien metal rained down through the atmosphere, burning like falling stars. People across Earth looked up and saw the proof that even the strongest enemy could fall. The world erupted in joy. People cheered, cried, and embraced each other. For the first time, it felt possible not just to survive, but to win. Yet the wrath of humanity was not only in victory, it was in resilience. Every time the aliens destroyed a city, humans rebuilt. Every time a leader fell, another rose. Every time a family mourned, they turned their grief into rage. The aliens could not understand it. To them, survival was strength. But to humans, survival was only the beginning. They would not just live, they would fight until the last breath. But even as Earth roared in triumph, shadows lingered. The alien fleet was still vast. More ships lurked at the edges of the solar system, and whispers of Project Dawnfire, the most dangerous human. Weapons spread among commanders. Humanity's wrath had shown the invaders they were not invincible, but the war was far from over. The greatest battles still waited, and soon both sides would learn the final terrible truth. When humanity's wrath was unleashed in full, nothing in the galaxy could stop it. The destruction of the alien command ship had sent shockwaves across the planet. For the first time, humanity believed it could do more than survive. It could fight. It could win. Crowds celebrated in broken streets. Soldiers raised their flags. The world roared with a single voice: "We are not afraid." But deep inside the alien fleet, silence hung heavy. The overseers had seen many rebellions before, but none like this. Most species surrendered when faced with overwhelming power. The humans had done the opposite. The more pain they suffered, the stronger they seemed to become. The aliens could not understand it. And when an enemy is not understood, it becomes dangerous. So the invaders changed their strategy. If firepower could not break humanity, then fear would. It began with mass captures. Alien drones swept across villages and towns, stunning survivors with electric pulses. Entire groups of civilians were taken, lifted into ships like cattle. The goal was not to kill, but to study. The aliens wanted to know what made these creatures so unyielding. In hidden chambers within their colossal ships, humans were placed into cells of steel and glass. Some were scientists, others soldiers, others simple farmers and children. They were observed, scanned, tested. The aliens expected to see fear and despair, to hear cries for mercy. Instead, they saw something else. The humans comforted one another. They whispered words of hope. They shared food, even when starving. When one collapsed, another carried them. Even children, trembling in the dark, stood defiantly when aliens approached. And most shocking of all, when escape seemed impossible, humans still tried. On the third day of captivity aboard one alien vessel, a group of prisoners launched a desperate plan. Armed with nothing but scraps of metal and sharpened tools, they attacked their guards. The aliens crushed the rebellion easily, their advanced weapons burning through walls and bodies alike. But something about the act left them unsettled. The humans had known they would fail. They had known they would die. Yet they had fought anyway, just for the chance that one of them might break free. It was not logic. It was not survival instinct. It was something else, something the aliens could not measure. In another chamber, scientists studied a captured soldier. His body was broken, his uniform torn. They demanded information, sending shocks through his nerves, pressing their cold instruments against his skin. But the soldier only laughed, even through the pain. He spat blood and whispered words the machines could barely translate. "You will never break us." When the soldier finally died, the aliens stood in silence. They had seen many prisoners before, but none who had chosen death over surrender. For the first time, they began to feel a chill. Back on Earth, resistance movements heard rumors of the captures. Instead of despair, it only fueled their fury. Families who had lost loved ones swore vengeance. Communities carved messages into ruined walls. "We fight for those taken." And then came a night that shook even the invaders. In the ruins of Paris, a group of captured civilians were paraded before drones. The aliens intended to use them as leverage, demanding surrender in exchange for their release. Cameras broadcasted the scene across the world. Billions watched as alien voices echoed, "Kneel now, or these will perish." For a moment, silence fell. Families wept. Leaders gritted their teeth. The people held their breath. Would humanity finally break? Would they bend to save their own? The prisoners looked at each other. And then one stepped forward, a woman, her face scarred, her clothes torn. She raised her voice, weak but steady. "Do not kneel. Fight. For us." And before the aliens could stop her, she leaped forward, seizing a weapon from a stunned guard. She fired wildly, striking drones before being cut down in a flash of light. The other prisoners screamed not in fear, but in fury. They rushed forward, unarmed, knowing they would die. The aliens slaughtered them in seconds, but the damage was already done. The broadcast spread across the world. And instead of breaking humanity, it lit a fire deeper than ever before. People did not see victims. They saw martyrs. They saw heroes. They saw proof that even in chains, even facing death, humanity refused to kneel. The aliens had tried to use prisoners as tools. Instead, they had shown the galaxy humanity's greatest strength. It was not technology. It was not weapons. It was the human spirit. Inside the alien fleet, overseers argued, "They are irrational. They destroy themselves for nothing." No, not for nothing. For each other. They fight when they cannot win. They die when they could live. Yes. That is why they are dangerous. The truth was sinking in. The aliens had always believed power came from strength, from fear, from control. But humans had shown them a different truth. Power came from sacrifice, from unity, from love, and no matter how advanced a weapon was, it could not erase that. Back on Earth, the wrath only grew. Families of the captured swore to fight harder. Soldiers painted the names of the lost on their armor. Hackers encoded messages of defiance into alien systems. "We will never kneel." Even children whispered the words in the dark, carrying them like fire in their hearts. The aliens had taken prisoners. But what they had truly done was reveal humanity's greatest weapon to the entire world. In the quiet of a hidden bunker, a general spoke to his weary soldiers. "Our strength is not in our machines. Not in our guns, not in our bombs. Our strength is in us, in the fact that we never stop. We never bow. We never surrender. That is what they fear. That is what will save us." And the soldiers, though tired and broken, stood straighter. They knew, now that the war was no longer just about survival, it was about proving a truth so powerful it would echo across the galaxy forever. Humanity was unbreakable. As the sixth night of war fell, the aliens began to realize the mistake they had made. They had thought capturing humans would weaken the species. Instead, it had only shown them a truth more terrifying than any weapon. Because even in chains, even in death, humanity's spirit burned brighter than any star, and that spirit could not be conquered. The sixth night ended with smoke, fire, and grief, but also with hope that could not be killed. Humanity had been pushed to its knees, yet it refused to kneel. By the seventh night, the war entered its deadliest stage. The aliens realized brute force alone could not end the resistance. They began gathering their full fleet. Hundreds of warships drifted into orbit, their shadows blotting out the stars. From space, the Earth looked wounded, cities burning, oceans scarred. The invaders believed this would finally be the end. With one final strike, it would erase humanity forever. But what they did not know was that humanity was preparing something too, across Earth. A single message spread like wildfire, bouncing across radios, satellites, and coded transmissions. Dawnfire is ready. It was humanity's last gamble, a project whispered about in secret bunkers and hidden labs. A weapon so dangerous even Earth's leaders had hesitated to use it. But now, hesitation was gone. It was survival or extinction. The weapon was not just a missile, not just a bomb. It was a fusion of Earth's brightest minds, scientists, engineers, hackers, soldiers. It was built from scavenged alien tech, from the ruins of fallen cities, from the stubborn creativity of humans who refused to accept defeat. And it had only one purpose: to bring down the alien fleet. As alien ships prepared to descend, humanity, united for one massive strike, fighter jets launched from carriers, swarming like hornets. Submarines surfaced, firing missiles skyward. Cities that were half ruins revealed hidden railguns, rising from rubble to fire at the heavens. Hackers jammed alien signals, disrupting coordination, and in the skies, Earth's surviving satellites were turned into weapons. They dropped from orbit like spears, burning as they tore into alien holes. The planet itself seemed to rise up in fury. The aliens answered with devastation. Beams of light cut through the atmosphere, leveling mountains, boiling oceans. Entire blocks of cities vanished in fire. The sky rained molten debris. It was chaos, earthquakes, storms, fire, screams. And yet, through the horror, humanity kept fighting. In New York, soldiers dragged anti-air cannons onto rooftops, blasting drones out of the sky even as buildings collapsed around them. In Moscow, civilians carried ammo to soldiers, refusing to hide in shelters. In the Sahara Desert, tribes rode across the dunes, guiding tanks toward alien landers everywhere. Humanity bled, but everywhere it fought high above Earth, the true battle raged. Alien warships descended in formation, vast and glowing, weapons locking onto targets. But they met not silence, not surrender, only a storm of fire. Human jets, though primitive compared to alien craft, swarmed them in numbers too great to ignore. Pilots flew with reckless bravery, willing to sacrifice themselves to bring down a single enemy. Alien ships fell, one after another, torn apart by explosions. But for every alien ship destroyed, 10 more remained. Humanity's courage was mighty, but courage alone could not win a war in the stars. That was when Project Dawnfire was unleashed. In a secret launch facility hidden deep in the mountains, an enormous missile rose into the night sky. Its body was patched with both human and alien parts, its warhead glowing with unstable energy. As it broke the atmosphere, alien sensors detected it instantly. They laughed. One primitive missile would not change the outcome. They turned their cannons toward it. But Dawnfire was not alone. Dozens of decoy missiles launched alongside it, scattering across the sky. Some were real, some were fake, but all of them screamed upward with blinding trails. The aliens fired, destroying many. Yet in the confusion, the real Dawnfire slipped through. It pierced the black void of space, heading straight for the heart of the alien fleet. Inside the alien command vessel, overseers screamed orders. Cannons swiveled, shields flared. It was too late. Dawnfire struck. The explosion was not like any ordinary weapon. was a chain reaction of energy, part human science, part stolen alien power. A sun seemed to ignite in the darkness of space. The shock wave tore through the fleet, ripping apart ships, frying systems, shattering their formation. Dozens of alien vessels were obliterated instantly.
Out.
Others spun out of control, their engines failing, their weapons silenced. The once invincible, the fleet was suddenly broken, scattered, vulnerable. The sky lit up with fire, brighter than 1,000 falling stars. People across Earth looked up and saw it. For the first time, they saw not just destruction raining down, but hope blazing above. The turning point had come. With the fleet crippled, humanity struck back with everything it had left. Fighter jets pierced the weakened defenses, dropping payloads directly into alien hulls. Submarines targeted the wounded ships that fell toward the oceans. Railguns fired relentlessly, punching holes in vessels already cracked. Even the smallest victories now mattered. A single drone destroyed, a single fighter surviving, a single strike landing, it all added up. Humanity swarmed like a tide, overwhelming, where it could not overpower. The aliens, once certain of their domination, now faced something they had never known before. The taste of defeat in orbit. The shattered remains of their fleet drifted like broken bones. Overseers sent desperate signals across the galaxy begging for reinforcements. For answers, but deep inside, they already knew. They had underestimated humanity. On Earth, resistance erupted in cheers as news spread. The fleet is broken. We are winning. In London, bells rang from ruined towers. In Africa, dancers moved among the ashes, celebrating not death but survival. In Asia, crowds filled streets, waving torn flags as if they were banners of victory. The war was not over. The aliens still held ships, still had weapons, still had fury. But the myth of their invincibility was gone, and with it, their chance. At victory, as the seventh night ended, humanity stood bloodied, broken, but unbowed. The planet was scarred, yet still alive. The people were exhausted, yet still defiant. And somewhere, among the rubble and smoke, leaders whispered to each other words that had not been spoken in days. We can win. The invaders had come to Earth believing it would be another conquest, another easy victory. Instead, they had awakened something the galaxy had never seen before. Humanity united. Humanity enraged. Humanity unbreakable. The turning point had come, and the war would never be the same again. The night after, Dawnfire's explosion was unlike any night in human history. The skies above Earth still burned with falling debris, shattered pieces of the alien fleet crashing into oceans, mountains, and deserts. Some fragments fell like meteors, lighting the horizon in streaks of fire. Others broke into glowing dust, drifting like dying stars across the heavens. But for the first time, humans looked upward. They did not feel despair. They felt hope. The fleet that had once seemed invincible was crippled, its perfect order shattered, its flawless control gone. Humanity had drawn blood, and now it hungered for more. Yet the aliens were not finished. In orbit, dozens of warships remained, damaged but still deadly. Their overseers raged in desperation. Never in their history had they been humiliated by such a primitive race. Their pride burned hotter than their fear. They gathered what remained of their power and prepared for one last strike. If they could not conquer humanity, then they would destroy it completely. Earth would be reduced to ash, its oceans boiled, cities erased. But humanity was no longer the same frightened species they had first invaded. Across the world, a single message spread. It echoed in every bunker, every trench, every ruined street. This is our world. This is our fight. Stand together. Stand now. Humanity rose. In the ruins of New York, firefighters turned soldiers, carried rocket launchers through shattered skyscrapers in the deserts of Arabia. Tribes rode in armored trucks, guiding convoys of tanks toward the front lines in the mountains of South America. Villagers armed with rifles joined soldiers with machine guns, forming lines that stretched across the valleys. Everywhere the people of Earth united not for nations, not for politics, not for borders, for survival, for freedom. For humanity itself, it was not governments that led this final stand. It was the people. Ordinary men, women, and children, fighting side by side with soldiers. Humanity had become one. And then the alien counterattack began. The sky split open. With fire, as warships descended once more, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Beams scorched the land. Explosions shook the ground. Cities that had barely survived were reduced to rubble. Oceans boiled where energy blasts struck. But humanity no longer ran. They fought. In the skies, pilots soared, diving through enemy fire, sacrificing themselves to ram into alien ships when missiles failed. On the ground, soldiers unleashed every weapon left: rifles, tanks, railguns, missiles. Civilians hurled Molotovs, hacked. Drones with stolen tech set ambushes in the ruins of cities. In orbit, surviving satellites turned themselves into kamikaze weapons, dropping onto enemy hulls and tearing through them like blades. It was chaos. It was slaughter. It was fire and death. And still, humanity refused to break. The aliens began to falter. For every human killed, 10 more rose to fight. For every city burned, another became a fortress. The overseers saw something they had never witnessed before. Not just resistance, but relentless defiance. The humans fought not because they believed they would live. They fought because they refused to let anyone take their world without paying in blood. This realization chilled the invaders deeper than any weapon. Then, humanity's second strike came. While soldiers and civilians fought on the ground, Earth's best hackers had been working in silence. For weeks, they had studied alien code, tearing apart the language of the enemy. And now, they unleashed it. A virus. A digital plague. Built from scraps of alien tech and human genius, it slipped through the invaders' networks like a ghost. Corrupting systems, disabling weapons, shutting down shields. Warships blinked in confusion as their own commands failed. Drones fell from the skies like broken toys. The overseers screamed in fury, but their perfect machines betrayed them. Humanity had turned their own technology against them. At that moment, the tide of battle truly shifted. Human jets struck Crippled. Warships, tanks blasted alien walkers to pieces. Soldiers stormed landing sites, slaughtering stunned enemies. The great Invincible fleet, once feared across the galaxy, was falling apart under the weight of human wrath. And then came the final blow in orbit. The largest alien ship, the heart of the invasion, struggled to maintain control. Its weapons flickered, its shields failed, its overseers desperate. Humanity had one chance to end it. From a hidden base in Siberia, the last of Earth's nuclear weapons were launched. The missiles cut through the atmosphere. Leaving fiery trails across the night, the aliens tried to intercept. But their systems faltered under the human virus. The warheads struck. The command ship exploded in a blaze. So bright the entire world saw it. The shockwave tore through the last organized ships, scattering the fleet like leaves in a storm. The war was over. Silence followed. For the first time since the invasion began, the skies above Earth were empty of enemy fire. No more beams cut the ground. No more drones filled the skies. The aliens were gone. Humanity had won. On the ground, people emerged from bunkers and ruins, staring at the night sky. It was quiet, peaceful, endless. Tears filled their eyes, not from fear, but from relief, in every city. From the ashes of Paris to the rubble of Tokyo, survivors lifted their voices. Some cried, some laughed, some shouted, but all spoke the same words. We are free. Yet the victory was more than survival. It was a message. The overseers who had fled would carry stories across the stars. Stories of a world they had thought weak, a species they had thought primitive, people they had thought easy to break. But instead, they had found something terrible, something unstoppable, a species that refused to kneel, a species that turned pain into fury, loss into strength, death into defiance, a species that rose beyond fear. And in that moment, humanity was no longer just a survivor of Earth. It had become something more. A warning. A legend. A name whispered across the galaxy with dread and respect. The day aliens discovered why humanity should never be provoked was the day humanity discovered itself. Unbreakable, unyielding, forever free.